Hello there. We are underway in celebrating our first year anniversary. And if you don't already know about it, I'm hosting a raffle and giving away more than $2,000 worth in cash and prizes. So if you or a friend have access to an Apple product, you can enter to win. For the complete details, go to sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com. All right, here we go with another soulful episode.
And if you want to get to the other side of the riverbank because you think there's freedom over there, you just throw little stones in or your little mini moments. And at first, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. But over time, if you just keep collecting the little stones into the river or your mini moments of your life, it will eventually create a bridge.
Hello, I'm Tessa and Alburn. Welcome to the Say Yes to Your Soul podcast, where we empower women to connect with their souls and shine in their business. If you are ready to embrace your brilliance, create meaningful connections, and be compensated for your specific gifts, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore inspiring stories, practical insights, unique points of view, and soulful strategies, all to help you thrive. So let's dive on into this transformative journey together. Tune in and say yes to your soul. Well, hello there. Today we have a guest. She's been through some pretty big stuff in her life. When I first met her in a podcast event, it's a crazy one. It's just like this all-day thing where we're doing all these fast little interviews. She jumped out to me because she had a message around toleration and shifting that into a supersized life, by really paying attention to the unexpected mini moments. So her name is J. Lumen, like light, illuminates, Lumen. And she knows when life really sucks. To feel trapped in the wrong relationship, to feel trapped in a job due to circumstances, guilt, doubt, all kinds of stuff, right? In situations that seem impossible to get out of. And she survived an unexpected attempt on her life. And then she began living without regret, the unknown bucket list approach. That's because that's what she created through that hardship. And she's a life transformation and empowerment coach. And she's on a mission to teach others how to stop tolerating their lives and start living, because life as we know it is short. So Jay, I want to welcome you to Say Yes to Your Soul.
Hi, Tessa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're here too, like in so many ways. You've got a pretty big story. We could probably talk for hours about that, but I think if you can give our listeners a sense of what you're going through, you were in a couple different situations you were just stuck and trapped, and give them a sense of that and how you shifted out of those.
Sure. Well, one thing I want to tell your listeners is that just because I felt trapped in a particular situation in my life, we can all get trapped in various ways in our own life. We can get trapped by our circumstances or our guilt or our doubts. So they should relate it to whatever, if they feel trapped in their own life, they should relate it to their own circumstances.
Absolutely. I love that, though. I'm glad that you mentioned that right here, because this is not about necessarily an external entrapment, right? This is also the internal feelings of being trapped or obligated or guilty or in shame and all that stuff. So thank you for bringing this up.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and we're taught as adults that we have to suck it up and tolerate it, and that we're not supposed to want to change our life, or if we start to change our life, our friends or our family might not be so supportive. But there's no reason why every single one of us shouldn't be living a life that we don't regret. And it's our life. So no matter whether we have family, friends, work that we enjoy, ultimately it needs to be the life that we're living that we don't regret because we're the only ones that get to have it. And for me, I was trapped in a wrong relationship. I say wrong relationship because had he asked me to marry him, I would have said no. So clearly, wrong
Oh,
relationship. But I was trapped in a wrong relationship. I was financially supporting him, so I didn't feel like I could, you know, necessarily kick him out. Um, it also left me trapped in a job that I absolutely hated. I couldn't quit because I was again the only one financially responsible, and I couldn't see a way out. So eventually, I figured out that I could send him away to go live with his family, which was about 4 states away.
like you literally were the one that paid for that, right?
Oh yeah, I was the one who paid for him to go away because I was like, okay, well, I can't kick you out, but I can't stay here. So, oh, I got it. I'll pay for you to leave.
Brilliant.
Shift happens.
Yes.
um, so I eventually figured that out. But then I convinced myself that the job I had just been complaining about and saying I hated, I convinced myself that I could tolerate it because I didn't know what I wanted. And that was actually my mistake because I had the balls to get out of the relationship. I fixed half my life and then I basically quit. But 2 months later, he came back from over 1,000 miles away. He drove back, knocked on the door.
Oh my gosh, those bad pennies do, don't they?
They do. I was like, what are you doing here? And I have a smile on my face, but the night ended with his arrest for attempted murder, which ultimately was mine.
So he was arrested for the attempted murder of you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so, it's just astonishing that sort of thing even happens in life, right? And here you are and you're talking about it. You're just so full of light and joy. I think it's just amazing. I'm so glad somebody was looking out for you that night. The
Well, thank you.
universe, yes, you got through it.
It was, there's two ways you can look at it. People could have expected me to just crawl away in a hole and hide, and it would have been acceptable. But I saw it as a second chance, the silver lining, because who knows how long I would have stayed at this job that I hated. I had started to give myself the freedom to live a life I wanted, and then I quit because I didn't know what I wanted. And I mean, when I sent him away, I could have quit the job. I could have broken my lease. I could have done all the things, but all I saw were reasons why I should just stay exactly where I was. And it's a horrible thing to have to say I went through this, but the silver lining was here's your second chance. You started to give yourself a better life. Now get off your butt and go do it. Go start living because life is short. And it's a cliche saying, but it's true. Life is short.
Well, Jay, there's so many people I think that come up against a situation like that, or they have circumstances in their lives where they're not taking the action that's going to change things, right? And you were there, but you were starting to get that you had this second chance. Like, what was going on inside you? How did you actually start to listen to it and lean into that message and into actually taking action? What got you to really do it?
I wanted to, if my last day on earth was going to be soon, and we never know when our last day on earth is going to be, but if that was going to happen, I didn't want to be regretting where I was or what I was doing or what the last thing I did that day was. I wanted to break out of this. I have to only do this because I can only afford this or my circumstances are this. We deserve to live a life that's not imprisoned by our means or our circumstances. And we all have different levels of ways that we can afford to do things, but you can really build a life in many moments throughout your day. And I started looking back at my past and finding just remembering what used to bring me joy, passions, skills, things from my childhood that I used to remember, that I used to enjoy doing. And I started leveraging that to be able to help propel me forward and get clarity on what it was that I wanted to do with my life. I always knew in high school I never wanted a normal Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. I put myself back into that position where I was not living a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job.
Mhm.
I always loved to travel. I grew up in the military as a military kid, so going new places and exploring new things was not something unfamiliar, but I couldn't have told you the last time I had gone anywhere. So I
Yeah.
started doing that, and it's just looking back and remembering what really makes your heart smile, because the life you have is yours. And you can compromise and say, well, I want to spend time with my family, or I want to spend time with my friends, or whatever you want to do.
Well, wait, I call that rationalizing.
Well, and that's, I call it intentional decisions.
Hmm. Okay, so that's a difference though. If it's intentional, you can choose those things. But if it's not intentional, it's just a habit, right?
True, but it's where I was going with the compromise is, if you have a couple of different things that you want to do, you're like, well, I want to have time for me, but I also want to spend time with my family. Then you decide which you want to do, and you make the intentional decision to choose A or choose B. But then you'll also find a way to, if you're trying to find time for your family and yourself, then you'll find a way, maybe the next day or a few days later, to where you do the other. And so it's kind of, you plan out your day intentionally so that you're always making the decision that gives you what you want for your own life.
What were some of the things that you were creating intentionally when you first started making, some pretty big changes in your life?
I went completely across, I changed my career completely. So it was, I left the job that I hated. I definitely did that. It changed career fields completely. And I was on the East Coast of the country, and I moved to the West Coast of the country. Didn't know anybody, but the work I wanted to do was over there. And in order to do it, the cheapest way I could afford to do it was actually to sleep in my car while I drove across the country. And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I could never sleep in my car. Well, if you had to, if you didn't have any other choice, if you absolutely had to, you could. So, what's the difference between choosing to do it now versus if you had to, you could? And I've grown that experience, because I did it once and I was like, oh, well, if I did it once, I can do it again. I've now been to all 50 states. I've driven almost every single one of them. And the longest stint I did in my car, just to see if I could do it, was I did a 2 week road trip in the Dakotas and did the whole thing in my car. And I showered at like truck stops or gyms. And it gave me complete freedom to literally just explore at my own pace. And did I have to? No, but I wanted to, because of the experience that it gave me. And that's what I mean about not limiting yourself by your means or your circumstances, is that it doesn't always have to be a glamorous way to do something. You can still do it.
I love that. And so you knew that life is a box of chocolates and that you were going to have some, and you
Yes.
found a way to do it. And you just didn't give in to the limitations that seemed like they were all around you.
Yes. And
Mm.
the more I went for it, the the bigger my life got. And I've been able to do things that I never even would have imagined were possible. And it all came through just little mini moments. And a lot of those we will dismiss as insignificant. But if you collect them, it's like standing on the side of a river bank. And if you want to get to the other side of the riverbank because you think there's freedom over there, You just throw little stones in or your little mini moments. And at first, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. But over time, if you just keep collecting the little stones into the river or your mini moments of your life, it will eventually create a bridge. And you can walk across the bridge to the other side of the river and find your freedom. And if you are happy with your life all over here, but you just want a little happiness over here, you can go across the bridge, get your happiness, and then you can come back to your life the way you want. And it's just from finding all these little mini moments and then stacking them up to where you have this supersized life.
I think it's really a beautiful way to envision it. It's a great metaphor. And I think this could be really helpful for so many people who just get overwhelmed, right? Like get overwhelmed at trying to make a change. And so you can go about collecting mini moments. What were some of your mini moments? Do you remember any of those original ones or the ones that you're living today? Your mini moments.
Well, we actually just had one. I'm visiting family at the moment, and it was Memorial Day here in the United States, and we cut into a watermelon, and it was yellow. I've never seen a yellow watermelon. No, neither had anybody else in the house. And they, of course, at first we were all like, is it rotten? Like, is it safe to eat? And then we went down this rabbit hole of yellow watermelons are a thing and where they come from. And of course, we could have gone our entire lives with never experiencing or even knowing that yellow watermelon existed. And many would dismiss that as insignificant. But it's a funny story. And so those are little mini moments that you just collect into your life. And it's all these experiences that you're overlooking. And that's how you get this supersized life. It's full of all these
Yes.
experiences that are little moments.
So what I like about what you're bringing here today, I mean, I like a lot of it, but there's a way of paying attention, to what the experience is behind whatever's happening. And so like in your mind, when you're calling this a mini moment now, not because everybody was confused, but because it was fun to like get into it and go down that rabbit hole and learn about yellow watermelons, right? And it makes you laugh when you think about it. That is the essence of the mini moment right there, right? The changing of your state and lifting. It becomes an automatic upliftment of one's spirit and being.
Yes. And it's so easily dismissed as being insignificant. But once you shift your way of thinking about it, then you start finding all these little mini moments all over the place.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, I think you're right. A lot of people would say that's, this stuff is insignificant, but it's not. And like, I think one of the main things, like in all the coaching that I've done over the years and the mentoring, it always comes back to something very similar to this, right? It comes back to, well, what is, like, what do you want to be feeling? Like, what are you going to need to get over there? And this way of capturing mini moments sounds like it works really well, maybe for people with ADD, in addition to just everybody. Like it could work for neurodivergent people, it could work for people who tend to be emotionally overwhelmed. It's a way to focus the mind and attention onto the joy that's present or the possibility of joy that's present right now in this moment.
Yes. If you feel like you need to make a change in your life, it doesn't have to be a massive overhaul. It can be done in little micro shifts, building the little mini moments, and eventually you will see that your life has been changed.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to get booted out of here. I know the event people are going to do that in a moment. So I want to make sure that our listeners know how they can connect with you. And if you have a free gift, to go ahead and let them know what that is.
Well, thank you. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook under the Unknown Bucket List, and J Lumen on LinkedIn. And I have a play on words. My you can get a self-assessment if you need some help identifying your past achievements, your little mini moments. It's resumeyourlife.com, or it could also be resumeyourlife.com.
Oh, yes. Very good. All right. So resumeyourlife.com. So get that assessment going on your mini moments, your capability of that and turning things around. It just sounds like a joyful little process. I'm really glad that you brought that to us today. And is there any last thing that you want to share before we have to go, before we have to leave here?
Just to live life like it's short, but also like it's large, and finding the balance, or long. Life is short and life is long, and finding the balance in between, and just really making intentional decisions throughout your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. That's it for today's show. I'm glad you were here today, Jay, illuminating us and bringing your lovely spirit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
I wish you all joy and finding those many moments. All right. Bye-bye for now. All right. Thank you for joining us for this week's delicious episode. Before you jump off, I wanted to remind you to get entered in the raffle this month because I'm giving away more than $2,000 worth of prizes in both private sessions and actual cash. What are those prizes, you ask? Well, one of them is a private 75-minute soul light healing session with me. And that can be healing on various levels. It might be releasing trauma or tuning up your body or your emotions or clearing things like past lives and karma that's been, energetic debris holding you back. This session can be very helpful and sometimes have dramatic results in relationships, money, and in your health. And we're going to do that together on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. The second prize is a 60-minute coaching session with me, and that's also going to be on Zoom. So if you want support or clarity for your goals, like help with getting started with a project or just creating an action plan, that is going to be an amazing session. You'll be surprised at how much you come away with. The third prize is a personalized meditation that I will design especially for you. And of course, it's going to be yours to keep. So it's going to be fully personalized in terms of the content, and I will be speaking just to you so that you will be able to resonate with it and receive the maximum benefits that you want to create. Okay, now for the fun stuff, the cash. I have several cash prizes in various amounts. I've got several $50 prizes, $75 prizes, and $100 prizes. So you can see there are many opportunities to win here, and I just want to encourage you to be sure to play because you do need to play to win. All monetary prizes will be delivered through PayPal or Wise. And if you have a different currency, it'll be automatically converted for you. So as long as you have access to an Apple device, you can play. And all the instructions are available on our website at sayyes2yoursoulpodcast.com. That's sayyes2yoursoulpodcast.com. And if you need any support in completing your raffle entry, my team is ready to help you with that. You'll find their email on our webpage as well. So that's it. All the best to you, and may you say yes to your soul.